everybody, it's Teen G Tuesday. It's been a little while since I've sat on land and actually recorded, so I'm really excited to film this video for you. I am doing a cruise line question and answer video, and I posted to my Instagram and asked everybody if there were any questions that they wanted to be answered, and I got a bunch of responses back. So I have all the questions here on my phone, so I'm gonna be looking at them and answering them for you. So here we go. Question number 1. How was adapting to cruise life? So adapting to cruise line was interesting. So at the beginning I was so excited about everything because it's something new, it's something you haven't done before, and nobody has ever done this before, and there's nobody that I could talk to about the experience. So going in, I was really excited. I had this fresh pair of eyes on everything. It was something that I had wanted to do for ever. So it was really cool, and I was really excited about every little thing. Even things that probably should have been red flags at the beginning, like not getting my paperwork till a week before I left, or not getting medically approved till really late in the game. Those things should have been worrisome, but I was just so excited that I was just looking at everything through rose-colored lenses. So adapting was fairly easy. I made a really good friend right away in traditions, and that was really helpful. If I have any tips for you, if you're going on cruise line, make a friend in traditions, because we stuck together the whole first month, and it was really cool because we had each other's backs, and it's nice to just have somebody around that you can lean on or you can talk to about things, because nobody at home is going to really understand what you're going through. Nobody understands what I went through on cruise line except for my friends from cruise line. So you create a really special bond with those people because you can't really talk to anybody else about it. So adapting was pretty easy at first. I would say probably the hardest thing was just food, but even in the beginning when you're eating, you're oh, this food's fine. It's really after it gets repetitive after a while. But just cruise lifestyle is interesting to get used to, just working those hours. I thought it was gonna be a lot harder on my body, but you kind of just, you get thrown into doing this thing and you have no other choice but to do it, so you do it. And that's the adapting. There really isn't a period where oh, I don't want to. You just do it. You just do it because you have to do it, and that's it. So, question number 2. What is life as crew like? It's a lot of fun. So there's a lot of different things that you get to do as crew. You wouldn't think, because we work so much, but they do set up a lot of different activities for us to do. So for instance, on the Dream, every Tuesday night, there's a big party. So that's fun, but it's also I want to try and be more realistic about what cruise line is actually like, but it's also only fun because it's the only option, if I was at home and there was an option to go to a Deck 14 party, I probably wouldn't, just because that's the only thing really that you can do there. But they have a lot of first show movies that you could go see, but a lot of the times you don't want to go to a movie after you just worked, a 15-hour shift. I don't even know if that's real, but if you're working from all day and then you don't want to go see a movie, or if you do, you fall asleep during it, which is lame. You get really close to the people that you're around, and I think that's really cool. One of the best things about cruise line for me is that you get really close to the girls that you're with. Life is very simple on board because you work. That's it. You don't really have other chores to do. You don't go to the store. You don't go grocery. You don't do anything that you do in your daily life, like grocery shop, clean. I mean, you clean, but your space is so small. It's not like you're cleaning a big apartment or a big room or a big house. You're just cleaning your bed and your half of the desk. So you don't really have other things to do. So something that I liked about crew life is I spent more time caring about myself. So I would go to work all day, and then when I got off work, I would go out, or I would do a face mask, or I would hang out with my friends. Even though you have such little time, you learn to use that time and make that time so much more important to you, which is cool. Question 3, will I continue? Officially, I will not be continuing as a Disney Cruise Line employee. The life is just not for me. I loved being a fairy godmother. I really did love my job so much, and I wanted to do cruise line my whole life, and I'm really glad that I got the opportunity to do it. But for me, being paid so little, working so much, not having any freedom, not really having a choice in your day-to-day life, what you can and cannot do, that just isn't my style. I'm very much like a free bird. I like to travel. I like to do things. I like to see things. A lot of people have the misconception that if you're working on a cruise ship, you get to travel a lot. But like I said in previous videos, the dream only goes to Nassau and Castaway and Port Canaveral. Port Canaveral, I've seen a million times. Nassau, after a while, you've seen it a million times. Castaway, after a while, you've seen it a million times, and you can hardly get off anyway. So you're really not seeing all that much. But yeah, it's just not really conducive to my lifestyle or like what I like to do. So it was a really good time while I got to do it, and now I'm done and I won't be going back. 4, where do you eat? So you eat in the crew mess. Everybody eats in the crew mess. It is open for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and then late night. And then I think there's one more late night, but I never went because I think that's like it's when I'm sleeping. I never went to breakfast my entire time on board. Literally not once did I go to breakfast. So I have no idea what is there. I really don't know. I did go to lunch almost every day and dinner almost every day. My last month of my contract, I didn't go to the crew mess at all, which you can do. You don't have to go to the crew mess. And you're not allowed to have fruits or vegetables or cheese or milk or anything like that in your room. Otherwise, it's like a huge fine. You get fired. It's like a big legal issue. You can, however, bring on like non-perishable like crackers and things like that. So I was just like the last month of my contract, I was eating a lot of like peanuts and stuff because I just like the crew mess kind of gets a little gross after a while. They do a really good job. They're very clean and stuff, but just like it's a cafeteria. If any of you have gone to college, you have a cafeteria. It's kind of the same as a crew mess, except for a little different. So you can put in a request for dinner in one of the guest restaurants if you have a night off, which we got about once or twice a month. And then you put in a request, and if it gets approved, you get to go eat dinner. And that was always fun. It was always like a really big deal because, you know, you get to eat like good food. So it's really exciting and everybody stuffs their face and you have an excuse to get dressed up. And then you are allowed to eat at Palo as well, but you are not allowed to eat at Remy under like any circumstances, even if you have guests on the ship. Palo, you have to pay the $30 guest fee. And then if you're eating at a guest restaurant, a rotational dining restaurant, it's $6 if you're gonna eat there. Question number 5, where can I go on the ship? I can go pretty much anywhere because I was a yellow stripe on my ID, which means I'm a petty officer. I'm allowed to go up and anywhere I want in the ship. That doesn't mean that I'm allowed to do everything on the ship, anything like that. I'm not allowed in any guest rooms unless I have a form signed because like a parent is staying in there or something. That's immediate termination. You will get fired for that. You can, if you're a ferry, you can go in the pools and stuff, but there can't be any other guests in there. I went into the hot tub one time on my contract and we were in there for about 15 minutes because by the time we were off work and we changed and we went up, that was really all the time we had left before the hot tub closed. So I liked to go up to the census spot. I'm not allowed in the guest gym, but I was allowed to go in the census spot and get like smoothies. So I liked to do that. Towards the end of my contract, it depends on what manager you have at the time, I guess, but towards the end of our contract, we were allowed to go up to Flo's Cafe and get food. So that was fun. We're allowed to go up to Vanilla Peas and get ice cream. So we're allowed to, sometimes on my lunch break or my dinner break, if I had a break with one of my friends, we would go up to deck 11 and just sit outside and just get fresh air because that's really important to being on the ship, that you get fresh air. So it was nice that I got to go everywhere because a lot of other people on the ship, like dining and people in those sort of roles, don't get to go anywhere on the ship. So I was very fortunate in that I got to go wherever I wanted. I got to go see movies in the movie theater. So that was really cool. Number 8, what things are there to do in port? Okay, so I'll break it down into each port. So Port Canaveral, nothing. There's nothing to do in Port Canaveral. Port Canaveral, I never knew this. It's a wasteland. There is absolutely nothing there. So you are in Merritt Island, and Merritt Island is, I'm sorry if you live in Merritt Island, but there's absolutely nothing there. There's one mall, that's where everybody goes. There's a bus that takes you, so you walk off the boat, there's a bus that takes you to the Merritt Square Mall, and it's scary, there's nothing in there, but you go to eat because you eat to survive. You have to go eat, because on port day, the cafeteria has literally French fries. That's like the worst day to eat is port day. So a lot of people get off the ship to go eat if you can. So like for my role, I always had the afternoon off in Port Canaveral day. So I would work until about noon, and then I started working again at 3:45. So I had a little window to get off the boat. So you could take a bus that'll take you to the Merritt Square Mall. There's a Sephora there, which is what we would go do. And there's like a little food court, and there's a movie theater and a few stores, but that's where everybody goes because that's where the bus takes you. The bus also takes you to Walmart, and you could go to Walmart and get, you know, whatever you need food-wise or anything like that. So that's what you do in Port Canaveral. Well, that's all we had time. And I'm saying everything as like me as a ferry. So like some other roles have the whole morning off in Port Canaveral. So you have time to go drive an hour to Orlando and go to the parks, but ferries don't really have time to do that. Some days I would, even though I had 3 hours off, I would drive an hour just to go to the parks for an hour. I wouldn't recommend that because it makes you crazy because you have to get back and work all night. But Merritt Island is kind of gross. So if you could get off the island, get off the island. Then there's Nassau. There's quite a bit to do in Nassau. We never really had days off in Nassau, so I think I got off 3 times the whole time I was there. There are a few really cool places to go there. There's Atlantis. It is expensive though, but if you're wanting to do like a trip, if you have a morning off, or if you're sailing as a guest and you're watching this video, Atlantis is super fun. A lot of the guests do that. You have to buy like a pass to get in. It looks really cool, and there's a lot of water slides, and there's beach, things like that. It's a little sketchy right when you get off the boat in Nassau and you go through, I think it was called the Festival Plaza, and there's just people screaming at you to get your hair braided, things like that. It's just like a little tourist trap. But once you get through that, there are things to do. There's this place called Gray Cliffs. It's an old mansion. That's where it's $35 and you get to go to the pool all day, and $25 you can use for like food and stuff. So there's a bunch of cats back there. Kind of freaky, but kind of fun. So you get to like hang out with cats and go swimming, and there's free Wi-Fi. So a lot of people go places because they have free Wi-Fi. There's Dunkin' Donuts. There is a Senior Frogs. There is this really cool place called the Straw Market. And there's women who just make like weave bags out of straw. So that's really fun as well. So it's just nice to like kind of get off and walk around. Just again, to get fresh air, get food. Those are like big deals. So we would just do that. And then Castaway is Disney's private island. You go to the beach or you eat. So if I had a day off in Castaway, I would usually go up to Satellite Falls on the ship and just like hang around by the pool and like read. Just because then it's less time that you have to walk off the ship, walk back on the ship because our breaks are so short. If I have a morning off, it's till 2 o'clock. And there's a crew beach there, which is nice. So we have our own section, but the water is like this deep for like a mile out. So it's not like you could just go like jump in the water or go swimming. You can't really do that anywhere. Those are the things to do in port.